Hello students, good morning. In yesterday's class we completed different types of sex-linked traits. Okay, from that some examples were of dominant trait, some examples were of recessive trait. Okay, from that important diseases we have learned, just like our hemophilia, color blindness. Fine, we have seen the inheritance pattern also. After that we completed different examples of chromosomal disorder. And today we are going to start the last part of this lesson, that is pedigree analysis. Very important part. Okay, we have to do a lot of practice on this. Okay, so let's start our today's class, that is pedigree analysis. Fine. Now let's see first what is mean by pedigree analysis. Okay. Now what is this pedigree exactly means? It is a chart. Okay, fine. It is a simple chart that shows presence or absence of a trait within a family across generations. In previous class I told you there is a branch of biology which is known as eugenics. Eugenics deals with application of genetics to solve problems, okay, of society. So that is known as eugenics. So pedigree analysis, it is one of the application where we can use knowledge of inheritance pattern to solve some problems or to trace in what way a particular disease will transfer to the next generation. So for that we use certain types of symbol. We study a family history for a particular trait, and from that we predict what is the chance of transmission of that trait to the next generation. So it is a chart that shows the presence or absence of trait within a family across many generations. Now these pedigrees are used to analyze the pattern of inheritance of a particular trait throughout a family. Now when we will see example, I will show you some simple charts. So these charts or this history, it is used to analyze the pattern of inheritance of a particular trait throughout the family. Now what is the use of this? As I told you, if a family has history of a particular disease, fine, and in that family or if that family want to see what is the chance of transmission of that trait to the next generation, for that pedigree analysis is done. Now those people who concerned with this analysis, they are known as genetic counselor, and this branch it is known as genetic counseling. Fine. Now this pedigree shows the presence or absence of a trait as it relates to relationship among parents, offsprings and siblings. As I told you, we are going to use some symbols to represent parents. We will use some symbols to represent the progeny. Okay, so for that sake we make a chart in that we show relationship among parents, offsprings as well as their siblings. Fine. Now these pedigrees represent family members as well as relationship using standardized symbols. So these symbols also we are going to see, because in exam question can be asked on that. Identify the symbol, which symbol it is used for what set. Then by analyzing a pedigree we can determine possible genotypes, we can identify phenotypes, and we can predict how a trait will be passed on in the future generation. In upcoming slides I will explain you how to read a particular pedigree chart and what we are going to analyze from that specific pedigree. So what we can analyze from that, we can determine possible genotypes of parents. In previous lectures we have seen, means when we studied the inheritance pattern of hemophilia, color blindness, if we know the possible genotype of parents, we can determine the possibilities of genotypes in the progeny. So by studying the pedigree analysis, we can also determine genotypes, we can identify the phenotype, and we can predict how a trait will be passed on in the future. So accordingly, genetic counselor counsel a particular couple, okay, what are the chances of a particular trait to be appeared in their progeny if a particular family has a history of that trait. Now, the information from A pedigree makes it possible to determine how certain alleles are inherited, whether they are dominant, whether they are recessive, autosomal or sex linked. Yes. So what exactly we find in that chart? We find whether the trait it is autosomal or whether the trait it is sex linked. Find whether it is dominant or whether it is recessive, because now we know what is the inheritance pattern of autosomal diseases. Okay, in what way these autosomal diseases they are transferred to next generation. If a particular trait it is dominant, it has to express in every generation, in homozygous condition also, in heterozygous condition also. If a particular trait it is recessive, it expresses only both the genes they are recessive. If it is autosomal, okay, whether it is sex linked, yes, we know that Y linked genes they express only in boys. If a particular trait it is X linked, then it expresses mainly in boys, because boys carry only one X chromosome, so a single copy of a gene it is responsible to cause the disease. So till now whatever information or whatever concepts we have learned, all those concepts, all those logics we are going to use here. So whenever you will start solving problems of pedigree, that time you will use the knowledge of genetics that you have learned till now. Fine. Now let's see what are the symbols which are used in the pedigree chart. Fine. In NCERT, very few symbols are given. I have added few more in that. Fine. Let's see the first one. These symbols you have to draw in your notebook. Okay, and you have to prepare this symbol. Question can come on this. It can come for theory also as well as for MCQ also. Fine. Let's see the first one. To show normal female, we are going to use a circle, empty circle. We use it to show normal female. An empty square, yes, or blank square, it is for normal male. So these two regularly we use. Normal female, it is shown by empty circle. Normal male, it is shown by empty square. Fine. Now male and female, if they are affected, then the circle and squares are filled. Yes, means if the circle it is filled, it shows that woman is affected. Woman shows the trait, whether it is autosomal, it is sex linked, dominant, recessive, whatever, that afterwards we will learn when we will see the whole pedigree. But if circle it is filled, it is darkened, it means that female is affected. If square it is darkened, it is black, or it is filled, it known as affected male. Fine. Or the male in the particular chart is affected. Fine. So it is to clear. If circle it is empty, it is blank, it shows normal female. If empty square, it shows normal male. If the female is affected, if the female shows particular trait, we have to draw filled circle, black circle. If the male is affected, throughout the family, that we have to show in a filled circle, square. Next, a marriage, it is shown by a horizontal line between circle and square. So horizontal line between circle and square, it shows marriage or mating. Now it could be normal male, normal female, or it could be affected male or affected female. But horizontal line between circle and square, it shows marriage or mating. Fine. Next one. Next one. If there are two horizontal lines between circle and square, it shows concisus mating, means a marriage between close relatives. Okay, so a marriage between close relatives, it is shown by two horizontal lines between circle and square. Next one. Now you have understood horizontal line between circle square, it represents the marriage. Now vertical line to that horizontal one, and again horizontal line showing offsprings or their progeny. Fine. In the order of birth, means from left to right, means here you can say the boy, okay, is the first child. So that square it is shown, and circle it shows the daughter, which is the second child. Fine. So parents and their children are shown by vertical line to the horizontal line between parents, and then order of birth. The first child, it is always on the left side of your pedigree. So in this case, son first one and the daughter is second child. Fine. Next, if circle as well as square, they are half darkened and half blank, then it shows heterozygotes. Okay, this condition we rarely show in the chart, because no need to show this condition, because once we read the whole chart, we will come to know whether the male or female is heterozygous for the particular trait or not. So sometime it is used, sometime it is not used. Okay, so all the time it may not be indicated in a chart. You have to identify whether trait it is homozygous or heterozygous. Right? Next one. If twins are monozygotic, means if they are identical twins, then we have to show like this. Now here both are son, means upside there will be parents. Fine. And then there are two vertical lines. If both are daughters, then instead of square there will be circle, and again horizontal line between those two. It shows twins are monozygotic, they are identical twins. Fine. If twins are dizygotic, then there will not be horizontal line between both the offspring. Now these offspring, one may be boy, one may be girl. They both could be boys or both could be girls. But to show dizygotic twins, there is no horizontal line between both the progenies. In case of monozygotic twins, horizontal line between offspring or between children. Fine. Next one. If a particular number it is written in circle or square, it shows 3 normal girls, 2 normal boys. Sometime to shorten the pedigree. Okay, this type of symbols are used, that if the couple has 2 successive boys or 3 successive girls, 2 successive girls, then sometimes we write number inside the square or circle. So that shows number of children. So for girls, obviously we will use the circle and inside we will write the number. For boys, we will use square. Okay. Next one. Carrier of sex-linked recessive. We know that mostly in the sex-linked, females act as a carrier. So to show a woman is carrier, we have to put a dot inside a circle. Now this is also most of the time it is not shown in the pedigree chart, but a circle with a dot at center, it means that woman is carrier for the trait. Okay. Now next one. If the sex it is unidentified, now usually before birth, if the sex of offspring it is not identified, then it is drawn in the form of a diamond shaped symbol. Okay. Then a particular individual, if it is deceased, means either male or female. If female it is deceased, then it is shown by a line crossing through the circle. If male it is deceased, then a line passing through the square. Now next one. If the circle it is darkened and a arrow it is shown on that circle, it shows propositus or proband. If square it is given, if for the female it is known as propositus, for male it is known as proband. Now what is this? So in the pedigree chart, if you see this type of symbol, means what? Affected person in the whole family who first brought attention toward the family, means the first case of trait which is find out, okay, or which we find out in the whole family, that is known as propositus or proband. So I gave you example of Queen Victoria. So as we know that Queen Victoria was descendant for the recessive angle of hemophilia. So whenever you see the pedigree chart of Queen Victoria, she was the first one in which the disease was stressed. Okay, so that symbol which we use, that is known as propositus for female, means if circle it is darkened and one small arrow it is shown at its base, it is known as propositus. If the disease it is traced in the male individual, then instead of circle there you will find a square which is darkened, and at the base there is an arrow, so that is known as proband. Fine. Now these are the symbols you have to remember. You have to draw all these symbols in your notebook. This is very important. Do practice, recall all the symbols, because whenever we will start solving the pedigree, that time, see now usually which symbols we are going to use. We are going to use symbols for normal male, normal female, affected male, affected female, then their marriage, offspring. Fine. But for identification for MCQ, any one of these can be asked. So you should know what is the meanings of these symbols. Fine. So these are the symbols which are used in the pedigree analysis. Okay. Now let's move toward next one. Now, what exactly we are going to interpret from the given pedigree chart? Now there are some types of pedigree analysis based on type of inheritance pattern. We know that diseases could be autosomal. Okay, just a minute. We know that our diseases could be autosomal. I came ahead. We'll start from here again. Types of pedigree. So mainly we are going to study the pedigree under three headings. Autosomal pedigree, sex-linked pedigree. In case of sex-linked, we know that it could be X-linked disease or it could be Y-linked disease. We have studied cytoplasmic inheritance also. So that also we will study in some types of pedigree analysis. So these are the types of pedigrees based on the type of inheritance. Fine. Now, what we will do as soon as we get the pedigree in front of our eyes. Why I am explaining this before? Because after this we are going to study number of pedigree chart. That time we have to revise these things. So what we will do once we find a particular pedigree in front of you. Now see, what you have to do first. First of all, you have to see whether trait it is dominant or recessive. Just listen this carefully. All these things you are going to follow whenever you will solve a pedigree chart. Because for this lot of practice it is required. So first of all, you will see whether given pedigree it shows dominant type of trait or it shows recessive type of trait. So there are some characteristics which are shown by dominant trait also as well as recessive trait also. We have studied what is the inheritance pattern if a trait it is dominant or if a trait it is recessive. That only information we are going to use here. So now what you will think in your mind. So first of all, let's see. In case of dominant genes, how you will identify the particular pedigree it is dominant. First one or both the parents must have disorder. As I told you, or we know that if a particular disease it is dominant, yes, one of the two parents must have the gene. Yes, and then only it can be transferred to the next generation. So in that case, either one parent is affected or both the parents could be affected. Fine. Next, what we think? Then we will see it expresses itself in every generation. Dominant traits will not skip a generation. Yes, usually being dominant, this trait it is expressed in every generation. Because dominant trait it is expressed in heterozygous condition also. So suppose from parent, one parent is normal, one parent is affected. So that affected parent can transfer one copy of allele to the progeny. One copy of allele, it is sufficient to express the trait. Being dominant, the trait can be expressed in heterozygous condition also. So what you have to see first, whether parents are affected or no. At least one parent must have the gene. Second, what you will observe, a trait it is found or it is present in every generation. Most of the time, the trait it will not skip any generation. Fine. Third, what you will say, this is a common in most of the pedigrees. The genotype is either homozygous or heterozygous, that I told you. So dominant genes, they can be expressed in homozygous condition also as well as in heterozygous condition also. If it affects one half of the children, so mostly half children receive the gene, so half children or one half of the children are affected if the particular trait it is dominant. You have to keep all these things in mind. Yes, we will start with the simple charts first, and then we will move toward much complex charts, okay, for revision. So these are the characteristic of dominant genes. Now let's see in what way recessive traits can be identified. In case of recessive gene, neither of the parents may have disorder. We know that recessive genes are expressed in family only if the person receives both the recessive alleles. Yes. So neither of the parents may have disorder. Means parents in this case, they are heterozygous. Fine. So when parents are heterozygous, okay, we don't call them affected. Yes, so their progeny receives both the recessive allele, just like our hemophilia, color blindness. Okay, when parents are normal, that time only, yes, both the recessive genes can be transferred to the next generation. So in this case, both the parents carry single allele, and then that recessive allele could be transferred to the next progeny. Okay. The disorder is rare in the progeny. Okay, as we know that recessive allele like color blindness, hemophilia, they are rare. Both parents are either heterozygous or homozygous recessive. Fine. So both the parents, they are now usually they are heterozygous. Okay, but they don't show the particular trait. Now this disorder skip generation because we know there is a crisscross inheritance. In case of color blindness, in case of hemophilia, carrier woman, she is without a particular trait. So one generation it is skipped. So in case of recessive gene, it may happen that the recessive trait may express after few generations also. So trait can skip generations. Dominant genes are expressed in every generation, but recessive genes can skip few generations. Fine. So first you have to identify these two things. As soon as you will start reading the pedigree chart, first you will see whether parents are affected. If parents are affected, means it is a dominant, and if every generation trait it is appear, usually in case of dominant gene, male and female progenies are equally affected. Fine. So in case of recessive gene, mostly parents are not affected and the trait can skip few generations also. So once you understood the given pedigree is dominant or recessive, then we will move to identify whether trait is autosomal or sex linked. Fine. Once we identify, yes, the trait it is dominant or recessive, then we will go to see whether the trait is autosomal or sex linked. Now how to identify whether it is autosomal or sex linked? Very easy. Now we know that most of the time sex linked genes are X linked genes because most of the genes are located on non-homologous part of the X chromosome. So X-linked recessive traits, males are much more affected than females. So suppose in the given pedigree you find more male progeny is affected, then that shows it is a X-linked inheritance, because if the mother is affected, that mother will give her X chromosome to all sons, okay, because daughter will receive X chromosome from father. So if from the parents mother is affected, and if it is X-linked trait, that trait can be transferred to all the male progeny of next generation. So X-linked recessive traits, males are more affected than females. In case of autosomal traits, male and female progenies are equally affected. Okay, so usually there is an equal proportion of male as well as female affected individual. So now which things you have to remember? First you have to identify whether the trait it is dominant or recessive. Then you will go for autosomal or sex linked. If in the given chart mostly males are affected, then it is sex linked. If male and female progenies are more or less equally affected, then it is autosomal. Fine. Now these things are clear in mind what you will do. Okay. Now let's see. Now next one, Hollandric gene, Y-linked gene. Okay, so Y-linked genes are always affecting males only. Okay, so father transfer it to son. So very simple. So in a pedigree chart, if father is affected, next generation sons are affected, third generation if grandsons are affected, obviously it is a Hollandric trait or it is Y-linked trait. It never skips generation. It appears in boys of every generation. Fine. Then sometime pedigree comes for cytoplasmic gene also. We have seen examples of cytoplasmic inheritance, which we call it as a maternal inheritance also. So suppose a particular character is transferred from mother. So affected mother transfer gene to its all offsprings. Now how can you differentiate this between sex-linked and cytoplasmic gene? As I told you, in case of sex-linked inheritance, male progenies are mostly affected. In case of cytoplasmic gene, each and every organism or each and every zygote will receive cytoplasm from the female. So all offsprings will be affected, including boys as well as girls. So sometimes students do mistake in identifying whether it is sex-linked trait or whether it is a cytoplasmic inheritance. In sex-linked trait, mostly male kids are affected, male progenies are affected. In cytoplasmic genes, male and female progenies of affected mother, they are affected. Fine. Let's see some common pedigree chart. Fine. Now see, here one simple chart I have taken. How can we read this? See first, these black symbols are given. Means mother, father, affected woman, affected man marries. This couple has two kids. One is affected male and one is normal female. How can you trace this? Now this is autosomal dominant. Why it is autosomal dominant? Because parents are affected. Fine. First what we have to see? First we have to see whether it is autosomal whether it is dominant or recessive. If one or both the parents are affected, it is dominant. Appears in every generation. In first generation it is appeared. So this is autosomal dominant. Now see, sometime question comes like this. What is the genotype of progeny? Now suppose parent generation we call it as a first generation. Progeny here we call it as a second generation. So write the genotype of second child in second generation. So how can we determine the genotype? Now the girl is not affected, she is normal. She must have received the recessive allele. if she has both the recessive allele, means both the parents are heterozygous for the trait. So both parents are heterozygous. Say capital A small a. Father is also capital A small a. Now about son, we don't know whether he is homozygous or heterozygous because we don't have his progeny. So we have to write both dominant as well as homozygous or heterozygous. But the daughter, she has both the recessive allele. Yes, sir. Small a, small a. Okay, for example, means both the parents are heterozygous. So this is a simple pedigree of autosomal dominant trait. Let's see next one. Now this trait shows autosomal recessive. How this is autosomal recessive? Parents are not affected, still trait appears in the progeny. Means parents must be heterozygous. Say capital A small a, capital A small a. The daughter, second offspring, daughter has received both the recessive allele. It cannot be a dominant because parents are not affected. Okay. So only one girl it is affected. It is autosomal recessive trait. Parents are not affected, still disease or trait has appeared in the progeny. So this is autosomal recessive. Let's see the next example. Here if you see the parent, mother is normal, father is affected. Fine. This couple has 6 kids. If we see the sequence, first son is normal, next 2 daughters are affected, fourth son is normal, last 2 daughters are also affected. If you can see, affected father has transferred affected gene to all daughters and not to son. Means what is this? X-linked dominant. This is the X-linked dominant. Okay. The mode of inheritance cannot be confirmed. Yes. But if you can see, the father who is affected, that father transferred the gene to daughter. Fine. Here mother is normal. As male progeny or the son always receive X chromosome from mother. Okay, daughter always receive X chromosome, means 1 chromosome from mother, 1 chromosome from father. Fine. So this is an example of X-linked dominant. It could be X-linked, it cannot be X-linked recessive. Yes, sir. Because if it is X-linked recessive, then daughter will receive 1 recessive allele from father, but from mother they will receive normal allele. Then that allele will not be expressed. So this is example of X-linked dominant. Father has transferred the dominant gene to all the daughters. Now in this case also question can come, write the genotype of first son of second generation, okay, or fourth son of second generation, fifth daughter of second generation. Now see here, father it is affected. Suppose we use dash X dash Y, affected, mother is normal. Yes, so XX mother has transferred both the trait. Male has not received any affected one, so mother must be normal. Fine. So this is X-linked dominant. Now next one. Mother is normal, father is also normal. In their progenies, they have 6 kids. First normal son, second normal daughter, afterward 3 affected male progenies, and 6th kid, that is 6th daughter, is normal. Now once you look at the pedigree, first of all we will come to know that trait it is not present in parents, means it is recessive trait. And in the second generation, male individuals are affected, sons are affected, means obviously it is X-linked. We know that in case of X-linked, male progenies are affected more than female. So it is a X-linked recessive. Yes. So there is a high coincidence of affected sons suggests X-linked recessive inheritance. Fine. Here it is written sex linkage cannot be confirmed because sometimes it may happen. Now this is a simple chart, so here we will come to know this is a X-linked inheritance. it may happen that if the third generation it is given, fourth generation it is given, so it may happen that in that case it could be autosomal also. So for that we need the further information. That information it is not available, so just looking at this pedigree we will come to know this is the X-linked recessive one. Fine. These are the 4 simple pedigrees. Again, what you do, and you are going to write, or you are going to draw all those charts in your notebook. So as soon as you draw, don't look at the answer which is given below. Try to write by your own. First of all, you just do practice with yourself, why it is autosomal, why it is X-linked, why it is dominant, why it is recessive. So that practice you do first. Fine. Now let's see the first example. Now we will solve some examples. Okay. This is the example. I'll give you 1 minute. You just try to think on it. Till that I'll explain the pedigree. Now what is given in the pedigree? Now here you can see there are 3 generations. Generation 1, generation 2 and generation 3. In the first generation, mother is affected but father is normal. They have 5 kids. Fine. From that, first daughter is affected, second daughter normal, third son is affected, fourth son normal, and fifth daughter is affected. Fine. So these are the 5 progenies of second generation. The first affected daughter marries a normal man. So that marriage it is shown outside. Fine. Affected daughter marries a normal man. From their marriage they have 1 normal daughter, 1 affected son. Fine. In the same way, fifth affected daughter, she also marries a normal man. They have 4 kids. From that, 1 daughter normal, first daughter is affected, second daughter is normal, third son is affected, fourth son is normal. What can you think on this? Chalo, let's see. First see, one of the parents affected. Yes. In the first generation, mother is affected. Fine. Then just see whether trait appears in every generation or not. Yes, it is appearing in every generation. Male and female progenies are equally affected, means more or less. There are some male progenies also, there are some female progenies also. Then what is this disorder? This is autosomal dominant disorder. This pedigree shows existence of autosomal dominant trait. So what we have to think? It affects male and female progenies equally, and one of the 2 parents are affected. Trait appears in every generation. Now side by side you think like this. Why not it is sex linked? Fine. We confirmed this is autosomal dominant. Now let's see why not it is sex linked. So answer must come in your mind. If mother is affected, fine, she must transfer affected gene to boy. Fine. If father is normal, yes, then daughter must be normal because daughter receives X chromosome from mother. Okay. Now if mother is carrier, or if the mother has trait, and if it is a sex link, then all son must get the trait. Now here 1 son it is normal, means definitely it is not a sex linked trait. So it is autosomal dominant trait. The gene expresses itself in every generation. Fine. This is example of autosomal dominant trait. Second example. Okay. Again, mother is normal, father is normal. This couple has 2 daughters. Fine. So in the second generation, first daughter marries a normal man. Fine. From their marriage they have 3 kids. Okay. First daughter is affected, second daughter is normal, and third son is normal. Again, second affected daughter marries a normal man. Okay, they have both the normal daughters. Chalo, what we have to do? First, see whether parents are affected or not. No, parents are not affected. This is recessive. Okay, parents are not affected. Trait appears in the second generation. Means it is recessive. Now let's see whether it is autosomal or sex linked. Yes, so this is our autosomal recessive characters. Every time it is not required that males should be affected. So that time you have to see. Yes, because whatever information it is given on the pedigree chart, on that basis we have to use the logic and we have to give the prediction. So in autosomal recessive disorder, gene skips the generation. Okay, it does not show crisscross inheritance. We know that if there is a sex linked recessive, we will get crisscross inheritance. Okay, so crisscross inheritance, it is not observed here. In third generation also, one daughter it is affected. If it could be crisscross inheritance, then in third generation it should be skipped. So this is autosomal recessive trait. Fine. Third example. Here also, here they have given 4 generation data. In the first generation, normal father, normal mother. They have 3 kids. First daughter, normal daughter. Now second means here that darkened third number which is given. First, third and fifth, these are the progenies of these parents. So first daughter is normal, second son is affected, and third daughter is normal. Now this first daughter marries a normal man. From their marriage they have a normal daughter. This normal daughter marries a normal man. They have 2 kids which are shown in the 4th generation. First son is affected and second daughter is normal. Fine. Now come to second generation again. The affected boy marries a normal girl, a woman. They have 2 kids. First son is normal and the second daughter is also normal. The third girl or third daughter marries a normal man. They have 1 affected son and 1 affected daughter. Chalo, find it out. What you can see here, parents are not affected, it is recessive. Generations are skipped, yes. Crisscross inheritance is there, yes. This is sex linked recessive. Males are affected, yes. This is example of sex linked recessive, like your color blindness. In the first generation both are normal but they are heterozygous. Now here question can become, write the genotype. Now this you will do, write down genotype of each and every member in all 4 generations. Okay, first generation I will tell you, parents must be heterozygous. Now it is sex linked, so we can use XY for that. So suppose X-X and here X-Y. Okay, so parents must have, okay, or they are heterozygous, or the father is normal here, mother is carrier. So father must have XY gene, mother X-X. Now the affected individual, the second kid, second son in the second generation, he receives, yes, the affected allele from mother, yes. So this is the crisscross inheritance, this is sex linked inheritance like color blindness. So in generation 1, neither parent has the trait, but one of their children, that is second 3, is affected because there are unaffected parents that have affected offspring. It can be assumed that the trait is recessive. Okay, this first we have confirmed. In addition, the trait appears to affect males more than females. Yes, in this case, exclusively males are affected, suggesting that trait may be X-linked. Fine. So this confirms that the trait it is X-linked recessive. Now try to write the genotypes. Write the genotypes and send me the answer. All these pedigrees you are going to draw in your notebook. Okay. Next example. Chalo. Again 3 generations are given. In the first generation, father is normal, mother is affected. This couple has 3 kids. 1 daughter normal, 1 son affected. Again third daughter is normal. This first daughter marries a normal man. They have 2 normal daughters. Second affected son marries a normal woman. They have both the kids which are affected, that is one daughter is also affected and son is also affected. The third affected daughter marries a normal man. They have 1 affected son and 1 affected one normal son. Chalo, what can we predict from this? Chalo, parents are affected. Yes, one parent is affected. In every generation trait is appearing. It is appearing male and female partners are equally affected. So what is this? This is autosomal dominant inheritance. So easy. Only the thing is that you have to do practice. Then your logic will automatically develop. Still these are simple pedigrees. Okay. Sometime we feel that this is autosomal, but it could be sex linked also. So there we have to go for the genotypes also. So that practice we will do separately. Today only we are studying what is the pedigree analysis. Based on this number of questions we are going to solve. So in this pedigree, again trait appears in every generation. It is dominant. Male and female progenies are equally affected. So it is autosomal dominant inheritance. Fine. Again you are going to write genotypes of all the offspring parents in all the 3 generations. Okay. So at the top of pedigree, grandmother, that is individual 1, 2. Okay, they have 3 kids. Trait. Okay, so grandchildren have the trait. So trait appears in every generation. Fine. Now next example. Example 6. Okay. Now here you can see in the first generation 2 different couples are given. They are going to join in the second generation because their kids, yes, their kid married. So the second generation it is shown in common. So first male, second female affected. Okay. Third female normal, fourth male affected. Okay. Now the first couple has 3 kids. First son is affected, second daughter is affected, third son is normal. This third son marries a normal woman or normal daughter of a second couple. Okay. The second couple has 1 normal daughter and 1 affected son. Now this marriage has all 3 normal kids. Fine. Parents are affected. Trait it is transferred to the next generation. Now here you can ask me, madam, why third generation trait it is not appeared? Because both the parents are normal. Okay. If both the parents are normal, how the trait can be transferred to the next generation? So we will not consider that. We will see only first generation and second generation. First generation parents are affected. Those affected parents have transferred the genes. Fine. So this is autosomal dominant. In third generation, you can ask me that trait has skipped the generation. But when both the parents are normal. If the parents have normal genes, then from when that trait will appear in their progeny. So this is autosomal dominant disorder. Fine. Okay. Again, next one. In the similar way. Now just try to see how this is autosomal recessive disorder. Fine. Now again, once you look at this chart, you find that there are male progenies also, there are female progenies also which are affected. One of the either parents are also affected. Then how it is autosomal recessive? it must be dominant. Okay, like that you can start thinking, but no. As I told you, once you understand what is the pedigree, then you have to increase your thinking. See here now what I am telling. First couple, male is affected, okay, or father is affected, mother is normal. They have 3 normal kids. Skipped 1 generation, not a single progenitor, single kid has received the genes. Okay, means those kids have received the normal allele from mother. Yes, if it could be sex linked, if we think that it is a sex linked, that affected father must transfer the affected gene to daughters, but here daughters are normal, means it is not a sex linked disorder, it is autosomal disorder. It is not dominant also, because in second generation all the kids of affected male are normal, means it is recessive one. Although parents are affected, but trait it is not transferred to the progeny, means it is autosomal recessive trait. Fine. Now let's see the second couple. In second couple, male is normal, female is affected. They have 3 kids, normal son, affected son and normal daughter. Now in this way you just go on predicting up to the next generation. So this is autosomal recessive. Fine. So here also you can see, if from parent, one parent is affected, and that affected parent give rise to normal progeny, mean trait it is recessive. Males are affected, but that male is not transferring the trait to the daughter, means it is not sex linked. In that case it is autosomal recessive. Fine. Let's see the next example. Okay, again, now this is X-linked recessive example. Now you can see here some daughters are also affected, but that daughter has come from outside, it is not belonging to the couple. Fine. Now let's see. Couple, from the couple, mother is affected, father is normal. Mother has transferred her effective gene to the both her son. This couple has 4 kids. First normal daughter, second affected son, third normal daughter, fourth affected son. From here only you will understand this is X-linked recessive. Mother is affected, she has transferred her affected gene to both the progenies, male progenies. Now from this, see the first normal daughter. First normal daughter marries a normal man. She has 4 kids. From that first one it is normal. First one it is affected, means what? See here, now in what way you have to predict this? Can you predict me genotype of first daughter of second generation? She is normal, but her son got the trait, means she must be carrier for the trait. Okay, she is carrier for the trait, so she has transferred her gene, recessive gene, to the son, so that first son it is colorblind or he has received the gene. In the second one or the fourth son which is affected, okay, the fourth son which is affected marries the affected woman, so obviously their all kids will be affected. Fine. So this is the example of X-linked recessive. Fine. So today we learn what is meant by pedigree analysis, in what way we identify the particular pedigree, for that what types of symbols we use, how we read a particular type of pedigree. Now we studied some examples also, we have learned some simple charts. Now based on that, what you do today, again you solve all these charts, you draw in your notebook, don't see the answer which is given below or what we discussed, and you try to learn by your own. You try to find out the answer, or you try to identify the trait by your own. Once we will understand how to read the pedigree, then we will do practice on it. So today you do this. Meanwhile, I will provide you one practice sheet so that you can start doing practicing on this. Now this was the last part of this lesson, that is the pedigree analysis. Now after this, from tomorrow, we will start solving some questions related to inheritance pattern as well as pedigree analysis. Okay, so that was about the pedigree analysis. You watch the lecture again, try to understand all the things, do practice. So thank you and keep practicing. Do lot of practice on this. From tomorrow we will start solving questions based on this. Bye bye and take care.